Hi everyone. Let's continue, shall we? So I know you guys are all hungry. Try to do this concisely. So my name is Jack, and I'm a co-founder of Kaskad, which is considered the main landing on the current Kaspa ecosystem. And to finish this series of presentation, I'm going to discuss about another point of view on what it means to build on Kaspa. And I can say already that it's amusing for me because I had no clue what the other speakers were about to talk about. And essentially, we're all saying the same. So this facilitates my own presentation because the topic I wanted to discuss with you was I'm quite convinced that we have entered the business era on Kaspa because it's getting harder and harder for us to find excuses to actually not to build on Kaspa. We have too much tech available. We can do so many things. So it really feels like now is the time for businesses and services to start developing, relevant stuff on Kaspa. So this is what I want to develop with you today. And for this, I want to take you through the journey of the other edge of the spectrum of Kaspa, meaning how we, business developers, perceive building on Kaspa, how easy it is, how challenging it can be, and what was our experience, our journey, and what did we learn in the process. Because right now, Kaskad is live. It has been live on mainnet on Igra since 3 weeks, precisely. So we have a bit of data that we want to share. So let's get started. So a bit of history about what it meant for Kaskad to actually ship a service on mainnet. So I'm going to try to make it quite short, but we started initially in 2022 when we discovered Kaspa. And I think Julien would argue that it was maybe even in 2021 because there was only 100 people on the Discord of Kaspa. So it was quite early. And at the time, we were just monitoring how Kaspa was developing and the approach that Kaspa was having. And it was very compelling for us because it was quite new, at least for us who had not seen the Bitcoin initial era. We were like, okay, this is refreshing and this looks super serious. So eventually it led to some of our team being some global Kaspa ambassador for Kaspa for more than 2 years. So covering the whole Kaspa worldwide events and attending keynotes and promoting Kaspa to the best of our abilities. But at some point, I was discussing with some of my associates, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but at some point we need to also live through the experience of mining Kaspa, because you can't be part of Kaspa if you don't mine, technically. You have to understand the experience it is, and it's still a business. To mine Kaspa is a business aspect, because you have to deal with cost and you have to deal with prediction. So it's like something you need to strategize at some point. So we started quite small with some case 0 Pro for those who know that. So home miners, super nice, not really loud. It was fun, it was working flawlessly. We could also solo mine with it. So I was like, wow, the tech is actually super cool. But you know that mining is a different type of business because you have guarantee of earnings, basically. You know that mathematically you are going to earn some block rewards. So it's just about how you tune and how you spend your money and if you can be profitable. But there is no promise behind mining Kaspa. You know that you will get your block reward. You just have to be good at it. So we continue down this road of mining Kaspa using ASICs and mining through hosting facilities. And this is where we found one of our other associates, who is an industrial miner, who also contributed to Kaspa network hash rate for quite so long. And eventually we ended up in France, in Auxerre, during an event that was financed by the Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation, where we met with someone you know as Elliot, and we also met Paul. And we were quite astonished to see such young people and bright minds being also excited about the idea on researching Kaspa and also building on Kaspa. So eventually, this all led up to a Kaskad team being built naturally and encompassing what I consider that the true spirit of Kaspa, meaning that we were excited about the tech, we tried mining, we also found people excited about research. And eventually it led to Kaskad being built as a project because at some point we all shared the same frustration, which was at the time in 2024, is there a way to borrow against my cash? Because I see potential in this currency, but I would like to keep the exposure and I would like to be able to borrow liquidity. And eventually we were looking at the state of the ecosystem in 2025, early 2025. And this is where we heard about Igra being proposing to develop a base rollup solution on top of Kaspa, using Kaspa as a sequencer and being EVM compatible. So we were like, this is exactly what we were looking for. So we went to announce and to reveal our team and ambition in August, I think, yeah, August 2025. We said our hello word and we doxed the team and we explained what we had in mind. And the next month, we went to the Kaspa experience and we showcased the vision we had behind the product. We showcased the first mock-ups, the ideas, the game theory we had in mind. And we announced an official partnership with Igra because we felt super comfortable working with them, basically. They were just being open and mindful and asking for our needs. And we felt comfortable because we had also all the talents that we were looking for from the EVM environment. So for us, it was all the conditions were met for us to consider building something. So fast forwarding in October, we took care about the legal borrowing aspect and compliance aspect of building a business, which was not only super boring, but also super necessary, but also super costly. But eventually our thesis was there is no way institutions are going to be onboarded on Kaspa if projects don't professionalize and they don't play ball with regulations. You can't expect to have institutions try to deposit liquidity on Kaspa in a large amount if you don't show proof of compliance and regulation. So we took care of that part first, and we pre-funded this part, pre-financed this part for ourselves because we were like, it's our requisite to show proof of goodwill and to show our intent, and then we can ask for help after. So we took it upon ourselves to just start doing the boring stuff, and this is how we ended up incorporating our token company, obtaining a legal opinion for the token that we have, the Kaskad token, so we could make sure that the moment it is for us to onboard institutions, they wouldn't be, refrain about the idea of depositing liquidity because they didn't feel like it. So we took care of that, and only after November 25, we decided it was time for us to ask community's support because we all figured that since we had been part of the Kaspa community since 2021, 2022, it only made sense to us that we would ask the community to support this project of building the best landing on Kaspa first. So this is why we chose to build a fully community-only 2 rounds of fundraising. And for this, we also built our own regulated fundraising platform, meaning that we had to KYC people because the regulator wants to basically have digitally signed document and prove that people who participated were humans and nothing was not done by the books. So still boring stuff, and I think at the end of the day it cost us like 60 to 70K worth of dollars for us to build all this. So this is me talking about how a business envisions taking some risks in order to build a service for its customers. And for us, it was okay to do that because we strongly believed in the potential of Kaskad and Kaspa's potential. But eventually, we needed some capital because we needed to reimburse those investments, but also we needed to take care of a lot of aspects around the project, which are liquidity management, market maker, audits, you name it. So building a project on Kaspa is exactly the same as building a project on any other chain or any other non-blockchain world. You have to understand the risks that you are taking, and especially you have to look at the technology you plan on developing on, because you don't want to build your project for the sake of the technology. You want to make sure that the technology you plan on using is going to allow you to build the best projects you can, because this way you will be able to meet the demand that you have analyzed the best way you can. So it's not really how can we please Kaspa by building on top of it. It was more how can we use Kaspa, existing technology that we find, and how can we build the best product to serve the best landing for our customer. So this is how we approach those fundraising. And eventually in February 2026, we opened our product on testnet, and this was publicly open. We had it run for 3 months. We had 1 million plus transaction on Igra alone. It was quite intense. A lot of things broke, obviously, but it was very, very instructing for us, and we had a lot of material to adjust, and this allowed us to understand where we wanted to go with this product. And in the meantime, we were also conducting some audits, and I advise every business to not fall into the trap of auditing your product with AI. Like Pavel said, I think you can do some lighter things with AI, and it's okay. But eventually, we still need humans behind audits. So we used Sherlock because they were basically auditing AVV3, Morpho, 1inch, so they had a good tracking history of securing businesses. And at the time, Elliot had finished also his research on oracles, price oracles. So we also open source his research. We open source the contracts, smart contracts that allow people to plug and pull any price sources from our oracle. We also open source the infrastructure of the oracle, and this way everybody could actually look into what we built and challenge it and discuss how maybe something could be improved. But the most important thing for us is that eventually in May 24 in 2026, we were able to launch our product on mainnet, as we promised, and we were also able to list our Kaskad token on Mexi as we promised. And for us, it kind of checked all the cases as to can we build a business on Kaspa, release it on mainnet, respect the timeline, because it's super hard when you build software to respect the timeline. We all know this, but we also knew that we were building on the shoulders of giants. So we had seen Kaspa delivering hard forks every time on schedule, and it was marvelous for us. We were like, wow, this is super impressive. So for us, at the end of the day, and today we are 3 weeks in the mainnet, we can say that Kaspa passed the test for a business to develop. Yes, it was challenging, but we managed to do it, and we've learned a lot in the process, and also we have accumulated some enough data already in 3 weeks, and it's very telling. So I want to tell you the story about what we are learning now about the product and how it's going, basically. So right now, what you can see in the middle is basically the application of Kaskad. So this is a screenshot I just picked 2 days ago. And we learned a lot from the early numbers. And the first number I want you to keep attention on is initially we launched the project with 5 million ICAS as max supply. For a simple reason, we were not sure how the market would react the day we launched. And maybe we could have faced a market crash. So we had to be prepared for cascade of liquidations, and we were being very conservative about how much people could supply ICAS and how much they could borrow against. So we started super low on purpose, just to be sure that we would be prepared for the worst. And eventually, after less than 1 day, this 5 million cap was met already. So we were like, whoa, okay, so there is actually demand for this. So we revised our parameters, we checked the market, we checked if the team was ready to increase this cap, and we tripled the cap in 24 hours. And yet again, this 15 million ICAS cap got reached, I think, in 8 or 9 days. So we were starting to think that there was actual demand for Kaspa holders to actually use their Kaspa and borrow against it. So we increased this demand again recently, few days ago, and today we are nearing 20.5 million ICAs being supplied on Kaskad. But the most interesting part is also that what we are observing is that out of those 20 million plus supply, nobody is actually borrowing ICAs. So it tells us another thing. It tells us that since borrowing ICAs is basically taking a short position on Kaspa because you want your health factor to stay low, so you don't want Kaspa to appreciate, right? Basically, nobody is willing to short Kaspa. At least on Kaskad, it's quite obvious. The ratio is very telling. So for us, it's super important because it shows that Kaspa holders have convictions about Kaspa's potential, but also there is a lot of demand from Kaspa holders to actually do something with our CAS. So for us, our job on Igra was to do whatever we can to meet the demand, because the demand is real. We are not talking about a tech being shiny or being the best in 1 year or 10 years. We are talking about meeting a current demand. And the other aspect of the application that we have is that thanks to building on Igra and building on the premises of EVM, we were easily able to convince LPs and institutions to actually provide liquidity in USDC from other EVM chains. Because for us, it was really easy to say, hey, if you have USDC on Base, well, you can just bridge and provide USDC on Kaskad now. It's just one step away and you can deposit. So for them, it was way easier to say, oh, there is this new shiny thing that nobody has tested and we want you to jump and maybe hope for the best. So for us, it was super important because we managed to accrue 1.4 million in USDT in less than 2 weeks. And we are now sitting at 2.5 million in TVL in 3 weeks. So what we can take from this is building Kaskad on Igra was the right choice because there is demand, and we are even struggling to respond to it. So it's like, at the time, did we have any other choice to build a project like Kaskad on anywhere else? And the answer is frankly no, because between 2025 and 2026, we had no choice. We could not build what we just built on Kaspa Layer 1 at the time. And we could build anything that we wanted on Igra because everything was ready and the talents were there and the technology was there. So for us, it's pretty straightforward. Igra is a great addition to the Kaspa network. But then if you look at real studies from, I think the VC is 1KX, Pavel, I think you sent me the, so they shared a research that is the fruit of 8 years of observing and investing in markets. And they all say the same thing. They say, if you want to see a chain, an ecosystem thrive and not survive, yes, you are going to need your miners for Kaspa, obviously, but eventually you need businesses willing to take the risk to develop services that make sense to any ecosystem, which is you need good money markets, you need stable coins, obviously, you need DEX and AMMs, you need bridge infra, native yield, perps, coordination markets, real-world assets. And we can already see that thanks to Igra, we are able to check those cases already. I mean, we have a lending, we have a bridge for stablecoins, we have DEXs, we have infrastructure for bridges, we have native collateral on ICAS. So Igra is already providing us the means to develop key services in key areas. And for us, it's super important to see that this ecosystem is growing, because without it, any ecosystem is going to struggle. So although we are happy that we are part of this list, we think that we should see more, way more product and project willing to build those businesses. Because the more we have, the more we can attract people, the more we can get closer to mass adoption. We can't have mass adoption with just the technology. We need users and we need people to actually use your chain. Then the second part of the thesis of this VC was the next wave that is coming anyway is AI agents performing DeFi. And for this, any blockchain ecosystem that is not prepared, that is not AI agent proof tomorrow, is going to dry off eventually. So this is also, again, something that we were easily able to develop on Kaskad thanks to Igra, because for us, building on the premises on EVM and everything that was already ready allowed us to be more flexible and more efficient in the way we develop. So it means that we were able to develop this logic of having an AI agent connect to Kaskad and operate, manage your capital, because this is what we want to see on Igra, and this is what we think will happen anyway. And the fact that we are on the sweet spot where not only we know it's coming, but we can also prepare for it and build on it, for us, it's a big yes, right? So just to cover this, what we were able to build as a product, thanks to Igra being there for us, basically, is what is Kaskad today. And if I were to explain what Kaskad is, especially how it is built, well, you can consider us like a 4-layered product. And the foundational layer is obviously the Oracle, so the condensed order book Oracle that Elliot built and open source, because you can't have a proper liquidation and risk management if you can't prove that the price you are referencing is fair and is correct. So for us, it was the foundational layer, and this is why we helped Elliot develop his research and also provided some lab product so he could build on top and verify that his research is actually working. So we build on this layer, and we are in the process of decentralizing the Oracle, because right now it's working into TE enclaves, and it's in 2 separate regions. One is EU and one is US. We have a fallback mechanism, but eventually everything is already ready for people to run nodes individually, but we need to find a way to incentivize people for doing so. But the Oracle is already live, it's already open source, it's already feeding the other layers of Kaskad. So the second layer is obviously the core lending logic that we have, that we inherited from other well-known lending projects. And for this, we are using an interest rate model, a per risk asset parameters, but also, and that's something that is very important to us, we are also able to preserve a global shared state, meaning that everything that's happening on the protocol can stay there and can keep the same logic and be diffused into every participant without losing any of the logic, because we need this to make sure that we can protect our users whatever happens on the market, because parameters need to be adjusted so they can be protected. And you also need those parameters to drive the proper behavior that you want to see on your protocol. The third layer is the incentive layer, and this one is fully custom, and we are running an epoch-based activity-driven mechanism, meaning that on Kaskad we monitor everything that's happening for every user, and we measure their participation. We measure their participation against other participants, and this is how our game theory applies, and this is how people can actually receive some incentives for participating on chain, providing liquidity. So for us, it was very important that we could build an activity tracker that could properly track everything, so the most loyal participants on Kaskad could be the most rewarded. So again, this global shared state mechanism is very, very critical for us, because this is what sets us apart from other existing projects in the EVM world. And finally, the fourth layer is the governance layer, which is basically a bounded governance system where we allow every voter on Kaskad adjust the parameters of the protocol just by a click of the cursor. And each time they vote and the vote closes, then the platform is going to adjust for the next epoch. So we let our users actually shape the way they want to see the platform behave. And for us, this technology is super important for us to build because this is also what sets us apart from other projects. And this is also what we believed would be a very interesting experience for people and for users of the platform. So what I want to say with that is basically the idea that we had in mind for meeting a demand that we had identified as a business, we faced zero limitations in terms of what we can build on Igra. And for us, it was super important because then we don't have to find compromises. We don't have to say, oh, we could do this, but we can't. Or also, we could also argue that we could have done this on Base. Why not? I mean, Base is bigger. Base is well-known. Why don't you build Kaskad on Base? Well, the answer is, well, first of all, Base is not really decentralized, so it wasn't super matching with us. But also, second is, Base doesn't have really MEV protection. So for us, it was very less interesting. And on top of that, Base is not sequenced on Kaspa, so we don't feel aligned with Base at all, right? So for us, the choice was easy on paper, but technically, we could verify with the Igra team that we had no limitation in building our product. And for us, it's super important to get to this point because you want businesses to be able to build what they want because they know they can best meet a demand. And not, you don't want businesses to say, oh, I can do something, but it's going to be worse if I do it there. Like, I don't know why a business would accept worse, right? So you want better or equivalent, but you don't want worse. And if I want to show you how it looks today, for example, so this is the current live product. And what we have is a fully game theory embedded into the platform. So we have a claim center that lets people see how much reward they are accruing depending on how much they participate on chain. We have the full logic of APY and health factor. And we have also the full logic of supplying asset, borrowing against dynamic APY, how much liquidity is available. You can see that we have today 20.6 million ICAS supplied. We have a decent amount of liquidity still available. So everything that we built as a company and as a product is working flawlessly for us because we don't see any technological limitation today for doing so. And you can see that we also have this notion of how much time you have been supplying asset on Kaskad and how much it counts for our activity tracker because you need to oblige to a certain amount if you want to claim extra reward. So everything that you are seeing here, it's live and you can verify it by yourself. It's running and like we keep on having demand and people are still borrowing the liquidity that's available. So we have proof of traction that the product we had in mind is actually working, right? So back to the presentation. So coming back to what we are able to do today on Igra with AI agents. So actually we have deployed the MCP server that is live on both mainnet and testnet. And what it lets you do, well, I say you, but it's mostly your agent, right? You can connect your agent to the MCP server, and he's going to not only understand and see whatever happens on the Kaskad, so understanding the logic, the game theory, tokenomics, but also read all the protocol parameters live, so he can understand what's happening live. And then you can ask your AI agent to say, okay, go fetch for the best yield on Kaskad. And we have read access. So the agent is going to perform like any human who would have understood everything about our product. But you are not behind it and he's just doing this automatically and you can rest. So for us, it's super important because the upcoming wave of AI agents is going to need those types of technologies. Of course, we need more technologies, but this one is already being live and everybody can test it. And at the bottom, you can see this is me and my Discord on open cloud, just asking my gentle AI agent to go fetch for the latest parameters. And what's interesting for me is that I don't even have to click on my dApp and click on each relevant page to find the information. I can have a summary of everything in just one place, and then I can just say, okay, go do some stuff and come back to me. So this is quite a paradigm shift for us, because for us to see that an AI agent can actually interact with the protocol at such an early stage is very encouraging, because we want to push more, and we know that we are one of the first DeFi lending actually prepared for AI agents, thanks to Igra's technological availability. So a little word on this, but I think, Pavel, you explained it way more than me. But we have already other technologies that Igra inherits from the EVM ecosystem, because since we are EVM compatible, then it means that everything that happens on the Ethereum ecosystem is actually being technically available to Igra, that it can become eventually technically available to any project. So for us, it's interesting because we can tap into what's being developed on EVM while staying sequenced on Kaspa. So it's very interesting. And what we want to develop on Igra, especially for Kaskad, is a proper way to allocate some funds management for your agents without sharing your private keys. So this way you stay in a secure environment. You say, hey, you have access to $500 on this wallet. You don't have access to the private key. I want you to optimize the yield on Kaskad, and he's going to do it for you. You don't know how. You don't have to. He understands it, and everything is secure. So this is something we need to develop. I'll let you do the photo. Yeah.
It's my favorite.
So what I want to say at this stage is that for us, Igra unlocked EVM, but also Igra unlocked any business will to develop his product. And we are very thankful for that, because at the time we wanted to develop our product, there were no other real solution for us to do so and still stay on Kaspa. But we are well aware that Toccata is coming, and we know that Toccata is going to unlock a lot of new programmability for layer 1, and we are very excited about this. And of course, you say that Igra fixed a lot of things for us builders on Kaspa, willing to develop on Kaspa, but eventually it's also elegant to see that the programmability is being applied to the native chain, because the fact that you can express some conditions for a UTXO to be spent, and the fact that you can verify the lineage of a UTXO is super exciting for us, because it shows that we are nearing a programmable level that is close to what we would like to see as a business. So for us, seeing this happening on top of what Igra is already developing is a confirmation that you can't find an excuse not to build on Kaspa. I'm sorry, guys. What else do you want? I mean, like, we have so many ideas to develop new services, but we won't now because like, we don't have time. But it's super versatile, and I think people need to understand that you don't have. It's not. Before that, we had no choice. I mean, people don't realize this, but before that, you had no choice. If you really wanted to ship something tangible that is a competitor to what exists, you couldn't do it on the layer 1. And tomorrow you are going to be able to do that. So for us, it's super exciting to see that, well, Igra and Kaspa, everything is ready for builders, basically. So what is the state of Kaskad today, for example? So the way we see it, we say that everything that we wanted to ship on Igra and as a product was being made possible thanks to Igra Labs. So for us, like, we honored our first promises. That was, we will try to build the best product there is in terms of lending on the chain. And now if we look at what's ahead of us on June 30, and what is the promise that Toccata is unlocking for builders, and we see that there is elegance, because if tomorrow you can remove EVM, you can remove bridge need, and you can also operate fully native with native assets, then you can have a very compelling product to offer. Not necessarily what exactly Kaskad is doing today, but you can get closer to something that can be very bankable on the network. And we look at all those things and we say it's promising, But we still want to see how Oracle are going to be handled, and we have huge expectations about our real-time decentralization, so RTD, and we know that Jonathan is working on it. We know that Elliot would want to take a shot at it, and I really hope to see the two continue on working on this, because this is an amazing feature to let miners actually take care of the consensus of the prices and event realization. And I just read a thread about Michael Sutton this morning, who was hinting at expanding the chess game with a state machine, because to us this is mainly the missing element on Kaskad, because we really rely on this preserved state feature, and the fact that we can't see it right now on Toccata is a limiting factor. Like, it's limiting us to build the exact same product on top of what is missing still today and what may come eventually, of course. But the fact that Michael is already resting and working on state machine for us is interesting, because we see that, again, people will have the choice to develop whatever they want on either layer 1 and on Toccata, or either on layer 2 on Igra. And it's going to be super fun, actually. So what we want to conclude with this is that Kaskad is like any other product. We have game theory, and you can consider Kaskad as a game. And as Michael likes to put it, state machine is just a way to make the game looks more capable. And we, as an ecosystem, need to think on how we can learn to work together a bit more and a bit more efficiently, so we can increase the attractability of the Kaspa ecosystem. But because even if it was easy for us to develop a business, it was still hard in a sense. It was still hard in the sense that there was quite some pushback when we wanted to show our ideas and visions, because the idea that it was built on the layer 1 was pushing back a lot of people. But we were like, okay, but where is the other option? At the time, there was none. So for us, it was both a success, but both an interrogation, where we were thinking, what can be improved in Kaspa so that builders are actually super excited on building on the chain, rather than afraid of building on the chain. Because builders shouldn't be afraid of building on Kaspa, they should be super excited. And yeah, so this is basically my conclusion. I think I've said it. But what we want to see in the future as a business is we want to see competitors. We want to see more businesses willing to develop a super cool product on the chain, because Kaspa deserves it and our users deserve it. So let's just learn how to build together, and let's just learn how to improve everything, because I'm sure we can. Thank you.